So I wanted to talk about these words that you can see down here, this transparency, accountability, justice business. So that's something that you'll be hearing a lot from us at WikiLeaks about that. We're a new party, so we haven't been able to come up with a position and a policy on absolutely everything, and there'll be things for you out there that you really care about that you'll want to have a really highly developed policy and position on that we just won't have been able to do yet. But what you do need to know about us is that we really care about transparency, accountability and justice. So I thought I'd spend just a few minutes trying to crack that open a little bit and talk about why it's not just a motherhood statement. It's actually something that's highly integral to the WikiLeaks philosophy. The WikiLeaks philosophy is it covers the publishing organisation, so wikileaks.org, which of course is Julian's beautiful enterprise, and also this homegrown party, this WikiLeaks Party, which also is, and there's heaps of volunteers out there. There's a whole bunch of people who've spent over a year trying to put this operation together, and all of them are very motivated by transparency and accountability and justice. So, what does it mean? So transparency, the whole idea of it is about being, it's about the powerful. It's about all of us having a right to know what is being done with our taxes and in our names. And Julian said the other night on 60 Minutes, he was talking about when the lights go on, the cockroaches scatter. And people probably have also heard that, the idea of sunlight being the best disinfectant. So transparency is about us being able to know what is being done with our taxes and in our names. And transparency brings accountability, and the accountability is meant to be to us. So we seek to have a democracy that works for us, a government that represents us, and we need that kind of accountability, and transparency brings accountability and it delivers justice. It delivers more than justice though, because really what we want is a system that's delivering all the fruits of democracy. So there's justice, there's liberty, there's privacy, there's equality, and all of us deserve a democracy that delivers all of those things to all of us. And one of the most important things about all of that is that the powerful get the things they need without a functioning democracy. The powerful have always found a way to get what they need. They get the food they need, they get the roof over their head, they get the education for their children. They have always been able to get what they need. So democracy is really about delivering to the rest of us. It's really about trying to find a system of government that tries to deliver the fruits of all the things that we all work hard for to all of us. And that's a really important part of what we're trying to talk about at WikiLeaks. We're trying to talk about the tragedy of Australian democracy in decline, which is something that's incredibly close to my heart and I've been writing about for a while. We all have that sense, I think, that something is going wrong with our democracy. So even as we're watching in the Arab Spring, we're watching other parts of the world get really excited about democracy, we're worrying about our own democracy, our more developed democracy, and what's happening to it. It doesn't seem to be working the way it should. It doesn't seem to be delivering to all of us the fruits that it ought to be, the justice and the liberty and the equality. So why is that? What has happened to our democracy? Well, WikiLeaks has a philosophy about that in fact comes from Julian. And the WikiLeaks philosophy speaks, and I would really recommend that you read, for instance, Cyberpunks, which is one of Julian's books, to find out more about it. But essentially the philosophy is saying, well, democracy is in decline because of corruption. And it's the kind of corruption, sure, that you see it when we've heard about with the ICAC in New South Wales with Eddie Obeid and Ian MacDonald. You know, it's that kind of corruption, absolutely. But it's also kind of the less obvious and noxious forms of corruption. So it's the kind of informal practices that see Australia's wealthy and well-connected receive preferential treatment. And it's the sort of informal lines of pressure and influence that see the powerful remain powerful and lock the rest of us out. And so we're really trying to talk about how we can expose that kind of corruption and put an end to it. And the way that the WikiLeaks philosophy has come up with doing that is one really simple but actually quite complex thing. And it's about leaking. So you can sort of see the drips that are happening down there. You see our little iconography there? Well, the drips are people leaking. They're leaking information about corruption. And what is it building? It's building a different world. So that's our world as it is now, that's our democracy in decline, and that's the world we're trying to build through leaking. So why does leaking do that? What does leaking do? Well, leaking from insiders who know about corruption reveals it. It exposes it to the light. And when we can encourage insiders to leak, then we start to know about corruption. And what happens then? Well, the corrupt actually start feeling very, very anxious. They start worrying that their corruption is not going to remain in the dark. It's not going to remain secret. We're actually going to know about it. And so then what happens? Well, they start thinking twice about being so corrupt, don't they? Some of that corruption actually reduces. It may even go away. So when leaking is enabled, and WikiLeaks.org has developed this wonderful Dropbox that many of you would have heard about. There's, information can be encrypted so that even the publisher, WikiLeaks, doesn't know where the information came from. I don't know if you've heard Julian speak about Bradley Manning, but he always says that Bradley Manning was the alleged leaker to WikiLeaks because he actually doesn't really know. They don't actually know because of this wonderful technology that enables people to leak without having to bear the consequences of leaking, because people who whistleblow actually do bear some very serious consequences. Does anybody envy Edward Snowden at the moment? I wouldn't be envying him. He pretty much knows what his fate is going to be. He's not going to be able to go back to the United States. He's not going to be able to live in a country with his language and his culture and his family. So that's a real sadness for whistleblowers, and we don't protect them enough. So the Dropbox is all about giving people the anonymity so that they can leak. That's the publishing arm. But we also need a political arm that actually tries to protect leakers, that protects them through whistleblowing laws, and that protects publishers through shield laws. So that's what the political arm of the WikiLeaks Party is going to be about. We're going to be about providing that sort of protection so that we can get the transparency, we can get the accountability, and we can get the justice. So the question then becomes, what can you do? What can you do? Do you want this kind of a world? Do you want the dark world, or do you want the white world? Do you want to encourage people who know about insider corruption to actually speak out? Do you want to have a political system where you have people in the Senate who are demanding the kind of laws that will protect whistleblowers and demanding transparency and accountability from our own government so that you actually know what is being done with your taxes and in your name? Do you want that? Okay, good. So you're in the right place. So what you need to do is start talking about transparency and accountability and justice. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about why you're going to vote for us, why they should too. Take these things and distribute them, and help us get to the Senate so that we can stop our democracy being in decline and build a better one for you. Thank you.